Pike's pushed more and forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Coming down to
Does
the
he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it. Medeiros
Look at Tyson! Haven't got it!
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Hello everyone and welcome to round 2 of the iFormula Super Formula Series. Last week it was the home of British motorsport at Silverstone, and this time we take a trip to Central Eastern Europe, to the Hungarian for round 2 of what has been an interesting season so far. You join myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and really pleased to be reunited with this man, Dean Biggles. How are you, buddy? It's great to be back with you once again.
Yeah, g'day everybody. It's good to be back, of course, for round 2 here at Hungarian. And we have about 12 or so gladiators performing their last few minutes of qualifying.
Yeah, so at Silverstone, it was Mackenzie Roon from Inten Get Good Sim Racing that won the Pro Class and managed to get 31 points on the board. Daniel Dixon from Apollo Motorsports took the lead in the standings after the opening round in the AM category for what was an interesting race. But of course, this Central Eastern European track was originally conceived and opened back in 1986, really the best part of 38 years ago. But it really has been a tried and tested circuit. But of course, with these Super Formula cars, for those that don't know about Super Formula, it is effectively Japan's top-tier single-seater series. All cars are 2-litre inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engines with around 550 brake horsepower, but also a bit like their IndyCar counterparts, Dean, we've got the good old push to pass as well to add a little bit more spice to the mix.
Oh, I love it. Yes, exactly. It certainly does. Because you could use it defensively and offensively, unlike the DRS, which is just an easy gimme on the DRS straights, of course, in Formula 1. But you can't use the DRS to defend, but you can use your push to overtake, push to pass, whatever you want to call it. The limited amount of time you have to use it during a race, but you can use it whenever you like, really. You can use it for the whole lap if you want to go for it. Some of the drivers will be using it during the qualifying session at the moment. 124.2 is the top time to beat there from James. We have a good mix of drivers from around the globe, as you can see here as well, too. The US dominating 1 and 2 currently at the moment. But an Austrian there, an Italian, a Norwegian, Swedish, and is that Romania?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, it is.
Marian Barbiero, who was very much in the mix in the pro class as we are coming to the last 2.5 minutes of qualifying. So it's James Miller in the number 9 that leads the way on a 1 minute 24.280 ahead of Derek Miller in the number 56, who's on a 1 minute 24.445. Marian Barbiero and Austria's Hannes Schlegel complete the top 4, covered by around about 6.5 tenths of a second. Gianluca Iliano from Italy, Tyler Gilbert, Adrian Kullerside, Arturo Mayorga. We've got also Alexander Shanna, Eric Magnusson from Sweden, and Frank and Jacob Bisa rounding out the 12-strong grid. So from that perspective, we're going to see things very, very close in this latter stage of qualifying. Of course, Hungarian, known to be a difficult circuit to overtake at, very bumpy, very undulating, and also the start-finish race is the prime opportunity here, Dean, where you're going to be able to set it up the inside into turn 1 out of 14 corners around this circuit, which measures just under 4.4 kilometres. This is really where we're going to see a nice little bit of a different dynamic to the flat-out characteristics of Silverstone.
Yeah, you want to take us, I was going to say take us on board right now with one of the drivers, but just pulled back into pit road. Just trying to see who's on a flying lap currently at the moment. For us to have a look at. Buona Serata, that I'd have to say that to our Romanian friend in P3. If you are listening back there, I did live in Bucharest for about a year. So, there you have it, my friend. There's no place I haven't lived yet apart from London.
Dean Biggles, an international man of wandering and mystery, folks. But Alexander Shanna getting a little bit crossed up coming out through turn 1 and into turn 2 will be on his final opportunity of a qualifying lap, as we will thereby set the standing start grid. It's 30 points for a victory. It goes all the way down, right down if we had a capacity grid of around 30 strong Super Formula cars. But of course the different skill sets between pro and AM drivers. Of course we had the W13s for season 6, but then Super Formulas, I think as Zach and James were saying in the previous broadcast, I'll use Zach's words, so like schmucks like us, as Gianluca Iliano loses the back end and tanks it in the barriers. Now that was at the top part of the circuit between turns 7 and 8. So checking us out for qualifying. We are just waiting to see if any other drivers are out on circuit, but that is it for qualifying ahead of what is going to be a 44-lap race. Now, this is going to be very, very crucial. We are going to see. I've had a message from James Miller as well. In the meantime, via Discord, so he said, "Yeah, I can come in and chill with you guys and have a little bit of chat." Well, you know what? We're going to leave that. But here are your results for qualifying for round 2 of the Super Formula Series Season 7. James Miller takes pole position, and it's going to be a USA front row lockout with Derek Miller, Marian Barbiero from Romania, and Austria's Hannes Schlegel will round out the top 2 rows as we see.
Still have qualifying sessions still going, but I don't think he's going to have enough time to get out there.
Yeah, he's about 25% of the way round the lap. Well, he's on an out lap at the moment, so that's going to be quite interesting from that perspective. So whether there's an opportunity for Barbiero to maybe just build a bit of speed, but on an out lap it's going to be quite a bit different from trying to get yourself at a full push lap, as Barbiero goes a little bit wide. That would have been through turn 5 and heading into 6 and 7. Very close chicane, and we have seen cars come to drama, haven't we?
Yeah, he won't. He can't cross the line and start a flying lap anyway. I think it's just utilising the clock at the moment with about 30 seconds left to go. Welcome everybody in the chat. Pop in and do say hello. We'll be reading the chat as we are following all the action on the screens. Screens, that's right. I have 3 of them, and plus your screens. So
indeed, and yeah. Don't forget, folks, that the next round of iFL Formula 3 will also take place tomorrow night at the same time. So don't forget to keep your eyes peeled if you haven't already subscribed to the JP Broadcasting Network and hit that notification bell where you're gonna miss out. So let's take a look, if we can, at the well, I've already gone through pretty much what the qualifying results were. James Miller takes pole position. Derek Miller will start up on the front row. It is going to be a standing start on this one, just like a traditional Super Formula race or Formula One. Marian Barbiero holding up the pit lane exit, but it's going to be Miller from Miller on the front row, so cars 9 and 56. Marian Barbiero in the 23. We'll have Hannes Schlegel in the number 90 alongside. Then it's Gianluca Iliano from Italy in the number 11. He'll be joined on row 3 by Tyler Gilbert in the 00 from the USA. Adrian Sabo-Kulaside in the number 8. We'll have Arturo Mayorga in the number 2 along with him on that row. Alexander Shanna in the number 45. Eric Magnusson in the number 16 with Frank Bisa and Jacob Bisa in the 61 and the 93. Bringing up the rear of the field. And even at this early stage of the championship, we've still got quite a lot of races to go. Just in 2 weeks' time, we'll be heading to the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya for round 3. Circuit of the Americas on 10th February for round 4. Round 5 will take place at Interlagos on the 17th of February. Then another little bit of a breather before Spa-Francorchamps on the 2nd of March. The San Marino Grand Prix at Imola at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari on the 9th of March. Red Bull Ring in Austria on the 16th of March. Montreal, the 30th of March at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Suzuka in Japan on the 6th of April. And then we'll have the 2 final rounds at Monza on the 20th of April. And Circuit Zandvoort on the 27th for the Dutch Grand Prix. And effectively bringing season 7 to a close. But standing starts, you and I both know, Dean, are going to be very, very crucial as we wait for our drivers.
Looks like when he's going to do that one right now, actually, for a standing start that we're on board with.
Yeah.
So that's not quite too wise. It is only a warm-up. There it is. So he's done his standing start. It is only a warm-up session. We have another practice session, really, for 5 minutes. Give or take, we're already about halfway through that at the moment. These drivers... Yeah. Now, there's absolutely no excuse out there, drivers, for any mistakes to be made because they've had a 30-minute practice session. They've had a 30-minute qualifying session because we just come to the end of that. Now you've got a 5-minute warm-up session, and of course we get into a 40-lap race, which you mentioned. No excuses for any mistakes, gentlemen. Of course, mistakes can be made. It's not easy to drive these machines, but they are a bit easier than the Formula 1s, the W12s and 13s. Yeah. So, I mean, I like these cars. I think they're better than Formula 3s.
Yeah, they're a lot faster than Formula 3s, obviously, with a very different powertrain. You know, okay, yes, it's mid-engine rear-wheel drive, but there's a lot more aero with regards to the Super Formula cars. We were discussing this just before coming on air, actually, Dean, weren't we? That there's a hint of the 2021 Formula 1 cars, then you got the old shark fin like we saw a few years ago in Formula 1. And one of the other things about the SF23, which is the cars that they're using, are normally well, on iRacing, they're using the Super Formula SF23 Toyota, but over in Japan, you either have two of the big brands, Toyota and Honda, going into battle for Japanese single-seater supremacy.
Yes, exactly. It's similar to what you would find in IndyCar with the different manufacturers as well. They're not obviously that dependent of the engine manufacturers like they are in Formula 1, of course. The pinnacle of how much of a difference, of course, a Mercedes is going to be between a Red Bull and a Ferrari and stuff like that for the engines, of course, of Renault and things, and Honda. And these are practically very, very limited, aren't they, to the manufacturers? Are just obviously just easing the costs off, I'd imagine, at the end of the day, aren't they? So that they both get their name into the sport. But as for the Honda, as you'd mentioned there, right, the two manufacturers, you're not going to see that performance difference. It's going to come down just to the way the drivers have set these machines up. Just to let you know on that one too, is it a fixed setup or is it an open setup?
Well, I've been trying to scan through the regulations on that front, but I think the thing is, one of the other items that the drivers will already be aware about is the fact that you must at least finish 75% of the race or the sprint to qualify for the bonus, for the race itself, to qualify for bonus points. Now, if a driver gets 0 incident points during a race, there is a bonus championship point. And if there's multiple drivers that have got 0 incident points, then the driver with the least incident points will receive a bonus championship point. So that's dependent. The warm-up has now been completed. So James Miller from Lumosy Motorsports starts on the front row from pole position. Derek Miller alongside Barbiero and Schlegel, row 2. Iliano and Gilbert, row 3. Kulosad and Mayorga, row 4, with Shanna and Magnussen completing the top 10, with Frank Beezer and Jacob Beezer rounding out the 12 strong as we get set for what will be round 2 of the iFormula Super Formula Series here at the Hungarian. As everyone is starting to ready up, we're waiting for about a couple of drivers before we get underway with 46 laps of this near 4.4 kilometre circuit. Has been in operation for nearly 40 years, the home of drivers such as Norby Michelitz, multi-time TCR and World Touring Car race winner, and also champion in his own right. As the field now is gridded up and ready, and once the lights go out, we will be underway here for round 2 of the Formula Super Formula Series, as the 5 red lights start to ignite and the lights are out. We're off and racing. Good start on the front row by Derek Miller as it's too wide going into turn 1. Absolutely sprinting down as towards the back end. Barbiero takes the race lead, going round the outside of Derek Miller. That was a great move, but Barbiero runs wide. Miller gets the counter-offensive heading back into turn 2, as they now will make the run through into this very sweeping left-hand hairpin. It then opens up into turn 3, and then it's pedal to the metal from turn 3 up towards turn number 4. So Barbiero leads, Miller right on the back wing, along with Ilianu. Oh no, that's a big off, and that was Derek Miller.
Yeah, looks like it's got some damage on that one, exactly. A couple other drivers might have been involved on that one, just as we're also seeing here. Toro's had a little bit of a moment. We'll get a little bit of replay on that one. That's 2 drivers down currently at the moment. So Romanian goes up into the lead of this one by the Italian in P2. And thanks out there, Frog said open setup. It is. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, so this is Gianluca Iliano stuck between Marian Barbiero and James Miller. Miller put it on pole position, but has found himself down into 3rd place. Iliano's done a great job up from 5th on the inside of row number 3 to get up to 2nd position. Now these drivers will have to serve a mandatory pit stop. Oh, Iliano went wide, coming through the final corner and compromised himself, drops himself back down to 4th position, so loses 2 positions through the 14th and final corner, as Barbiero now has a 1.5 second lead over James Miller in 2nd. Gilbert now 3rd. Iliano, Kuloside, Shanna, Schlegel, Jacob and Frank Beezer have both been tag teaming their way up the field, up to 8th and 9th respectively from the back row. And Derek Miller's got a heck of a lot of work to do, having dropped all the way back down to 10th place there, Dean.
I think Eric's gone into pit road here too. Just going to have a look. Go back, have a look at that crash actually, because Eric, I believe, was involved in that as well too. So I'll have a look at this at full speed, no doubt. Yeah,
he was just really closing. Oh, he just tagged the back of Barbiero, didn't he, and just lost it all on his own. So. And
there's the accident from Eric. So he gets tagged as he slows down because he tried to avoid the car coming back in as well too. So that's caused him some damage and put him into pit road at the moment. Go back to the live pictures.
Yeah, now the drivers can effect 1 quick repair. Only 1 fast repair is allowed per driver per race throughout the season, but Marian Barbiero, who's doing a pretty sterling job at the front end of the field, but the gap is coming down. Miller is really heated up and gunning for Barbiero. That gap is around about 8.5 tenths of a second. And looking at the previous lap times, Barbiero's fastest lap was a 1 minute 34.654, but Moller is really closing in. Kuloside closing in on Gilbert for 4th place. So some good. Now, when people want to know when is the push to pass being used, when the green halo around the airbox is flashing, and then that means they've deployed. And the green status, when it's just static, means that the push to pass is available, and that means an additional fuel burn, giving more performance to the 2-litre inline-4 turbocharged engines on these cars, which produce from at least 550 horsepower. So expect probably the best part of nearly 600 to 650 brake horsepower when you're using push to pass at full pelt.
But you can see that Skugel is using it a little bit of it. Every once in a while you see up the top exactly where that green light is. See how it's flashing at the moment? But that's harvesting. I don't believe he's using it currently. That's the electric steering wheel is not using the overtake on.
Yeah, it's going to be quite crucial how these... Hannes Schlegel had a bit of snap-on oversteer right there. The number 90 from Intent Flat Out Racing. Currently running P7 at the moment. Started 4th on the outside of row number 2, but is trying to close in on Alexander Shannon, the number 45 from the US, who's gone from 9th to 6th place. We're on lap number 3 out of 46 as the field starts making its way, being led by Barbiero through the 14th and final turn. And another fastest lap by the Romanian, 1 minute 27.152. James Miller, personal best from him, as with Iliano in 3rd place. Gilbert, Kullerside, Shanish, Schlegel, Jacob and Frank Beezer running at the top 9 with Eric Magnussen, Antonio Mayorga, and, well, Derek Miller has been in the pits since lap 2, and I think his race might be unfortunately over.
Yeah, look at it. There's no tyre on that car at the moment. That's a lot of damage to fix. He's not even in the car too, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly the best way to... Bobby lost the back end and held it, and Moller has gone, right, that's it, that's my opportunity, through at turn 6, and Barbiero still manages to light up the traction on the rear axle and get through on Moller. I did say at the top of the show, didn't I, Dean, that, yeah, overtaking's difficult, but these Super Formula cars are proving to be something of a bit of a revelation.
Oh, wow, that's going to be a bit of a Code Brown moment for the driver. It's going to actually bring the top 3 back together here. So very, very lucky to still remain in the lead of this race. Just get back and have a look really quickly at Derek as to why he has retired from the session. I think that's a self-accident. I wonder if we saw that one actually earlier or not. Let's have a look.
Yeah, that's...
He's had a snap at this one. That's bang into the fence, and that's a hard impact, and that's the reason why he's sitting in the pit road at the moment with a lot of damage on that vehicle. Here we go, Bob.
Yeah, that was definitely that's not gonna polish out. So front wing, front nose cone, left front suspension and tyre completely off the vehicle. It's a real shame for Derek Miller, as we are now down to 11 runners and riders, but the battle continues between the top 3, Barbiero, Moller and Iliano. This could give Gilbert the opportunity if he manages to pick up the pace. Now, Gilbert's last lap was a 28.2. Iliano was a 27.9. Barbiero, with that Code Brown moment, as you rightly put earlier on, Dean, was on a 129.3. Tyler Gilbert is starting to, you know, we've still got another, including this one, 41 laps of this race still to go. So there's every opportunity that Gilbert could play it nice and calm and not play it safe, but maybe try and undercut the 3 in front if he keeps the distance as it is right now.
You called it, and I have to say still that Hansa at the moment still cannot get away past. He's been held up here for some time. And Alexander, they're just leading in front of him at the moment. They're still just get those tyres warmed up, I think, as Frogwalt says that they're okay. They just get the tyres all warmed up. All right, well, at this point, he must be just happy to stay in behind. And of course, those pit stops, mandatory pit stops, are required. Look at that. Tyler Gilbert, you just mentioned, got the fastest lap of all of them, but he's still 1.5 and change down the road from that top 3. Smelling a potential podium. Still early days, of course, I mentioned that.
Yeah, and Tyler Gilbert currently sitting 4th in the AM standings on 22 points, so this could really be an opportunity for him. They're closing in on Barbiero for the race lead. They've dropped Iliano a little bit more now as they're heading through into turn 5. So let's just ride on board with James Miller, the number 9 from Lumos E Motorsports, into turn 6 and 7. Very much a piff-paff style chicane. And you've got to really hook the car in into turn 8. Now just let the car drift out a little bit wide coming out of turn 9. Don't apply the power too early. You really want to save the push to pass until you come out of here at turn 11. And you're down a slight elevation change into the 90 right at turn 12. So you're going to be down to at least 2nd gear. touch the apex, shift up to third to get the traction down, but then you've got to go down the gearbox again through here at turn number 13, really start putting the power down, and then again down from fourth as Barbiero takes a little bit of a wider line entering into the final corner, and then you're going to start deploying, if you have the affordability to do so, the push to pass. And now the closing speed is coming in. 1 minute 26.682 was the fastest lap from Moller. Look how close he got under braking into turn 1 on Barbiero. I think the Romanian has got to really just keep his wits about him and not have that tank slapper like he did a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, especially because James just set the fastest lap, as you mentioned here, 126.68. It's only 0.002 of a second. Not even that, really. Just off. But you can see he's now sizing him up. And you know that for a fact if he was a race driver. You've been sitting there behind the 23 car for some time. So you're getting an idea how he's taken the different racing lines around this fantastic, difficult track. And then taking an opportunity to size up where possibility. Overtaking is not easy at all, as you can see. It's just may seem anything forcing. I'd say start playing psychological games and force the opponent into a mistake. That's probably the best bet that he did, obviously, before. Perhaps if he was close enough to do that. But... And then also those pit stops, whether or not they're going to be following each other. That's the thing too, isn't it? As a race leader, you're the one that's kind of can dictate, or you're the one that's going to go, all right, if I go on a pit stop, so everybody else behind you can follow. They have the choice of whether they're going to stay out or follow you back into pit road. And that's the thing, isn't it? So race leader's got a lot on his shoulders to deal with at the moment as they start lap 8.
Yeah, Mackenzie Roon, who took the initial standings lead after round 1 last week at Silverstone, is not here, but this could mean that Barbiero will have a very, very good opportunity as Hannes Schlegel now puts in the fastest lap of the race. 1 minute 26.455 for the Austrian, who's about 1.5 seconds behind Norway's Adrian Kullerside in the number 8, as again Moller just really starting to try and pick his opportune moment to get past Barbiero, but the Romanian is trying to make that car as wide as humanly possible. Now this is on board with Schlegel, and well, he managed to get through. Now was that on that was on Alexander Shanna? So
yes. Yep.
Schlegel's back up a position, so he started 5th, he dropped down to 7th behind the number 45 from the USA, and then Hannes Schlegel in the Inten flat-out sim racing Super Formula car, the number 90, manages to get another place up the order, as James Moller having a slight off-track whilst trying to chase down Marian Barbiero, who has the opportunity. And at the minute, Frank Bieser, who's currently 9th at the moment, is 2nd in the AM classification on 24 points, but he is ahead of chief rival Erik Magnusson from Lumos E-Motorsports, who is currently rounding out the top 10 overall. But Barbiero, like he has done all the while so far, has completed every single one of the 8 laps in the lead out of 48, whilst doing that absolute banzai move round the outside, going into turn 1 on the opening lap. Moller goes a little bit late on the brakes, goes a bit deep into turn 1. He needs to sort of like calm that down a little bit, I think, because if he's getting the slipstream, sometimes you get that aero wash from the car in front, don't you? And that can sometimes compromise the stability of the car under braking, especially when you're flat out at over 270 kilometers an hour going into turn 1.
Is that all the speed they're doing? It's a walk in the park. My Skyline used to do that. Anyway, we'll sit there, and those, it's still out of the car there. I don't think it's going to be jumping back in anytime soon, Derek, after that accident you saw. That reminds me to ask you about that one, Alex, because you do real-life motorsports casting. Of course, it's scary to watch it, isn't it, in the virtual world when you smack into a fence like that, but in the real world, that must really be frightening for you when you're commentating and you see accidents like that.
Well, I remember being at the British Grand Prix when Kimi Raikkonen went off and hit the barriers at 47 G of impact when he was still running with Ferrari. That was harrowing. To be honest, I wasn't commentating. I was actually accredited media for that particular one. But when you see a big hit, it is not exactly, it never gets easy. As Barbiero sets the timesheets up purple, 1 minute 26.361 for the Romanian, and still has. Well, that's a bit of entrance there into turn 1 from James Moller in the number 9, and he's trying to close that gap down. But I think it's, as you said, we saw this in the opening race where things get a little bit spread apart. Tyler Gilbert now is about 2.5 seconds off Gianluca Iliano in third, but there's still an opportunity, I think, for Gilbert to try and see what he can do. And at the minute, in the AM side of things, Gilbert is actually the highest placed out of the runners and riders we have at the moment. So he could be on for an AM class win, and that could really help to catapult him up the order in terms of the point standings. So Frank Beezer and Adik Magnussen really have to try and make the best inroads that they can, even though this is round 2. If you get a good start, then we're going to have a look at the start itself. So there's James Miller on the front row with Derek Miller alongside, and we're going to get a replay of the start here at the Hungarian, because the 5 lights went on and then it was lights out and we were off and racing. A little bit of wheel spin as Miller just bogs down, and look at how Barbiero just threads the eye of the needle on Derek Miller, like literally catapulted that car straight out of the box and then round into turn 1. Through he goes round the outside, and still, despite going, he still goes off track, and Miller's gone, yeah, I've got him. And Barbiero into turn 2 went, no, I've got the inside line, I've got rights of way, and you know, they both gave each other really good racing room there.
That was impressive. We'll go back and have actually a look on board there from his perspective of what it looks like to get almost what you'd say the perfect start. Let's have a look. We're just doing this at the moment because there's not a lot of close action on the track with the live pictures, but so here we go. This is first gear. Of course, get that clutch engaged. We're going to be showing this about half speed. And then wait for those lights, of course.
Yeah.
There we go. Look at that, perfect. No bog down. Look at that. Straight through the middle here. At this point, you're going to have a massive smile on your face as he kept it pointed straight, so he didn't turn in. The other car was turning in, probably not even expecting to see him right here. Then he goes a little bit deep here to definitely get you a little bit of an off-track moment there, but that's okay because you're allowed a few of those. And then back onto the power.
Yeah.
And then into the lead of the race where he's remained so far since.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we would call getting the whole shot. Like literally, Moller just bogged down, wheel spin, didn't get the traction down, but in the secondary phase, he was able to accelerate the car a little bit further. But Barbiero has done an absolutely pristine job at the moment and still leads after what will be 11 laps of racing here at the Hungarian. And another fastest lap from the, that's the first, sub 126 as Blair was using the push to pass down the start-finish straight to try and close that gap. So, as you rightly said, Dean, just like in IndyCar, push to pass is an attacking and defensive countermeasure. You can do it to attack an opponent, or if you need to get out of a corner and you know that you got full traction, full commitment, and full compliance with the car, you know that you can boot it, hit the push to pass, get that extra little bit of fuel burn, a little bit of extra power, and you can get away. However, Kullerside has got Schlegel closing in, and this is the battle for P5, heading up in towards what will be turn 4.
Schlegel will be very quick as well too, so he got that job done before. Now he's got a 7-second gap there. That's because we saw Alexander make a little bit of a mistake, but now Schlegel's wanting a bit of Adrian here for the Norwegian. And thank you out there, Frog. I was actually just about to mention that. Remember, he was the only one that did that practice start during the warm-up.
Yep.
So that made a huge... I was always wondering, with these drivers, I mean, how you got to be practicing those starts? It's because I don't know how many times I've seen it in the Super Formulas and the Formula 4s, sorry, and the F3s and stuff like that, that people don't, I don't know, if they practice their race starts, they bog down and then bang, just like that, 2 or 3 positions you've lost from your fantastic qualifying performance. So, got to get that practice. There's another thing as well, too, that I always said the drivers need to be practicing more, of course, is their pit stops, because a lot of them do make mistakes in the pit stops as well, too, which cost you a fraction of a second, stuff like that, too, so. And that could happen to our race leader. He could make a mistake in the pits and then end up dropping 2 places because of a pit stop mistake. So it's when you got to be practicing and everything, gentlemen.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because the other thing that, in addition to what Frog Watts Racers said, was that Barbiero actually lined up on his grid position as well. So he knew exactly how it was going to be timed. That was a very, very good strategic call, but we still concentrate on Norway's Adrian Kullerside and Austria's Hannes Schlegel in the number 8 and number 90. Half a second separates the pair. And again, it is just a case of just trying, you know, you're having to sort of try and mitigate everything. So tire deg, fuel level, And also, you've got to regulate your push to pass for that additional fuel burn, because you'll only have up to an additional 200 seconds of deployment available. It's very much like IndyCar. Once you've used it all, that's it. You can't use it anymore, and you're basically at the standard full deployment of the internal combustion engine. So this just goes to show how competitive being in a Super Formula car really can be, and this is one of the leagues that uses it to great effect. And obviously with the calendar that we've got for season 7, a real great multitude of circuits that really are going to test not just the drivers but also the machinery under them. So, and there you can see Iliano, it's got so once it's got overtake on, that means it's being deployed. So that's a perfect, and it's showing the time left on the
yes,
on the actual display on the steering wheel.
Yeah, exactly. I just noticed in the telemetry software that we have, it actually does have the amount of push to pass now. I'm not sure what sort of, you might have read that. It doesn't show the sort of seconds there. It's just giving you some other information, but I can see it being used. So now I know which drivers kind of to show you. So he's really pushing it like that because he's trying to catch up that 1 second gap at least over there to James. You can see just up the road there, and of course our race leader. I was about to say our race leader's actually burnt quite a bit. I don't actually like too much to Alex giving away too much information race-wise, because there are drivers out there listening, of course, or their spotters out there listening. They're going to relay that information, aren't they?
You know what's even funny? Iliano that's 130 seconds of the 200 left, and he's just burnt through. That's nearly 50. That's nearly a quarter of the full deployment of the push to pass, and it's still going down. And he's just had a bit of a wobble coming out of turn number 13 in the process as Iliano, as Miller now is about a second behind. Iliano runs a little bit wide coming out of the final corner. Miller just puts in the fastest lap, 1 minute 25.803. So as the race is continuing onward, we're on to lap 15 out of 46. Miller is really starting to just start to chip away, whereas one driver might find, especially if your name is Gianluca Iliano, that you will end up running out of push to pass. Oh, moment there for Kullerside through turn 1.
Well, how frustrating would you think it would have been there for Iliano, because he just burnt most of his battery. Oh, it's not the battery, of course, but you know, burnt that push to pass during that whole lap, and then of course the top 2 drivers and then set the fastest lap each. Shared it. So the driver he's trying to catch sets the fastest lap when Iliano was burning all that fuel, additional fuel to try to catch him. And then you see that, like, God darn it, like, I just burned all my energy to try and catch you, and then you just set the fastest lap, but he's still 3 seconds and change down the road there. So it's got to be a little bit frustrating, I think, for him now, looking at an alternative pit stop strategy at least, and try and undercut or something.
Yeah, I think probably he's going to start relinquishing using that push to pass as Schlegel goes left, goes right around the back end of Kullerside into turn number 12. So this is going to be very, very crucial what happens between the Norwegian and the Austrian. A bit of a wider entry point taken by Schlegel as Miller sets another fastest lap of the race, 125.687. Schlegel now will deploy the push to pass, try and see if he can. He might just be saving it a little bit here, but he's not using it. I think, again, push to pass in this iFormula Super Formula season, they've really got to be very, very tactful. They've got to use a little bit of discretion when it comes to using the push to pass. And especially in the second phase of the race, that's where it's going to become more and more crucial. Of course, you can, let's say if you decide, okay, for the up until the pit stop, I'm going to use half of it. Or you might go a little bit over and then decide how you're tactically going to deploy that in the second phase of the race, because the cars will be faster. It also will depend on the fuel loads of the cars. Some drivers might decide to put in the full 100% worth of fuel on a Super Formula car, as we are seeing, I don't know, did they just go past, they just went past Mayorga, didn't they? Yeah, Mayorga's now a lap down off of the leaders, so Barbiero and Muller are really getting through this race very, very quickly. We're about to head on to lap 17 out of 46, and Muller has started to really get that gap down. It was about 0.8 of a second last time around. This time it's less than half a second, and James Muller did do a 125.4, but unfortunately that lap was disallowed, possibly due to track limits, because at the minute. Schlegel has had 25 off tracks, Malaya 26 off tracks, as indicated by our live timing. So Malaya's just trying to really push the car forward to get past Barbiero, and he's not that far behind. 3/10, that is now closing. Make that 2.5 tenths of a second through into turn 4. Now into the right-hand sweeper here at 5. Malaya has really got the bit between his teeth, and Barbiero's got to have a lot of white and blue in his rear-view mirrors coming through turn 6, 7. Now in the run down to the left-hander here at 8. Barbiero's just got to keep himself calm right now.
You can't miss that livery, can you, as well? So it's quite fantastic for the Lumos Esports rate number 9 machine. I don't see whether your off tracks are listed in the telemetry, or maybe I'm looking at somewhere else, but sometimes you find it's not always 100% accurate from our end with those off tracks, but there certainly is. You will actually see a little flash of red too up on the timing tower. That when you do see that little flash of red, that means that they are going off track. Second.
Yeah.
Here we go. Battle for P1 is brewing up.
Yeah, and Barbiero's expanded that gap again. You know, it was 3.5 tenths on the previous lap. And yeah, Barbiero's just responded. He's gone 3 tenths quicker. So has Malaya decided, right, I need to conserve some of this push to pass, because if that does end up being the case that Malaya's used a bit too much of it, as I said earlier, he's got to be very, very tactful how he uses that and how that helps him in the second phase of the race once they do their pit stops. That's going to be quite crucial, I think. But still, Malaya keeping that that gap sort of coming down a little bit closer, corner by corner, but at the minute, Barbiero doing a very, very sterling job. We're not that far away. Probably around about 6 laps before we hit half-time, as Hannes Schlegel still battling away with Adrian Kullerside from Norway for that 5th position. And this is getting closer and closer. Kullerside is also moving a little bit quicker than Tyler Gilbert in 4th position. Gilbert is now 8.2 seconds behind Gianluca Iliano in the number 11 car, who rounds out the top 3. So Kullerside and Schlegel might be just deciding to get themselves a little bit further away from those behind, because Alexander Shanna's got a 13.2 second differential between himself and Hannes Schlegel. Schlegel has really pulled away, so has Kullerside, as Schlegel comes out of the final corner at turn number 14, full throttle, 6th gear. Now the closing speed really starting to showcase itself on the run down to turn number 1. The gap was just under 2 tenths of a second. Schlegel sweeps a little bit wider before going into the apex of turn 1, through turn 2, coming up shortly. And Kullerside again keeps the Austrian at bay for the moment. This is still a very, very enticing battle. A little bit of a lock-up probably from the car in front, which is Tyler Gilbert. So I think really, from the way I see it, is that Kullerside and Schlegel at the moment have decided, let's just down tools for a minute and stop battling each other and try and catch the driver in front, because the higher up you get on the order, folks, the more points you score. And Schlegel and Kullerside have been very, very similar on pace. Schlegel's been the best part of about 1.5 tenths quicker than the number 8 from Norway, but still good to see that these drivers are keeping the pace very, very consistent as we're getting closer and closer to going on to lap 20 out of 46. But I'm wondering whether one is going to possibly go into the pits earlier than the other, and Malaya has just responded to Barbiero. 1:25.615 for Barbiero. Malaya puts in a 1:25.368. That gap now back to about 8.5 tenths of a second. So we're really getting into that stage now, Dean, where pit stops are going to be very, very crucial to how each driver's strategy works out as we will head towards the second phase of the race very, very soon, I'm sure.
And once again, they're going to get those pit stops perfect as well, too, considering how close the top 2 are. That top 2 are just a league of their own currently at this point. They're the only ones that are consistently basically lapping in the 125s, the mid 125 marker. Also, the rest of the field behind them, Iliano, I mean, is not. He can't really break into the 25s. He can't break into the 25s as much as he tried to push it. In fact, it's a mistake from somebody. Because speak of that, right there.
Oh, that's Malay.
James has gone off track for sure. I was going to say, because we were just talking about that, and that.
Oh dear.
Is one little mistake at that business end, and let's have a look what happened specifically on that one. It's going,
turn 7.
Oh, has he hit it? Oh, that's very close to keep it out of the fence. He had to reverse that one up quickly, and then you'll see in a second. There it is. Bingo. There's Iliano going. Thank you. I'll take that one any day of the week.
Yeah, that was a pretty. Yeah.
We've also got a crash from
Mayorga, possibly.
Schlugel.
Oh, Schlugel. Okay, now where? Now this is through the same part of the circuit.
Yes.
Schlugel's come out of turn 7 into turn 8.
Dropped it there.
Oh, and he's lost it. He's lost the back end. He lost the back end. It was that was another clean up on aisle 3 there. And then all that hard work, and Schlugel has got into the pits, has he? Apparently.
Yes, he has. He's gone to pit road. So he's elected to probably, I guess, on that lap. Frank's gone into pit road as well. Haven't seen too much of Frank out here for the Beezer Racing team. Oh, sorry about this. Pit lane camera angles are horrible. All right. So so 7 seconds for Hannes Schlugel, Eric Magnusson and Arturo Mayorga, 7.2 and 7.7 seconds in the pit lane. So, yeah, all that hard work. Well, Malera's got back past Iliano after that massive clean-up on aisle 3 through turn 7. Exactly, and, then we saw Hannes Schlugel a few moments later losing the back end to the right-hand side through turn 8 on the very same lap. So this is Malere on Iliano. Now this is down the start-finish straight heading into T1. Malere does a copycat of Barbiero on the opening lap of the race, but a lot more like
composed.
He just let him through. It didn't look like he put it too much of a fight there.
No, I think Iliano's got a different strategy. I think he wants to try and do the undercut on Malere to try and get a second position. Now, Iliano did not score any points at Silverstone last time out, so to come back and be in contention in the Pro Class to having a top 3, that'll be a pretty nice way to end the first couple of races in this season so far. Of course, after this we've got a 2-week break until Spain, and then Kota, which will be it will be effectively a 3-week back-to-back. So it'll be Spain, the US, and then Brazil from the 3rd to the 17th, which will take us through rounds 3 and 5. So they'll be able to sort of get themselves a little bit steeled and ready. But right on board with the race leader, Romania's Marian Barbiero, the number 23 from Inten Get Good Sim Racing, doing a fabulous job at the front end of the field, and everyone all the way down to Jacob Beezer yet to serve their mandatory pit stop. But I'm going to be quite interested to see with Hannes Schlugel if he can find that, showcase that pace that we saw before his pit stop, Dean, to really start to challenge those in front. And if he's put a lighter fuel, the further we get into the race, the lighter the drivers will opt for a fuel load, won't they? So that's going to be quite crucial, because Barbiero has kept it consistent. He's running in the 125.9s. He's got a 9.5 second advantage over James Malere, who's now running over 0.3 of a second quicker, folks. So the gap was just north of 10 seconds after that massive moment for Malere. I'm sure we'll be talking to him post-race and saying, did you grimace and brace, waiting to see if the front end was going to hit the wall? And I mean, Barbiero hasn't had it all his own way. I mean, we saw that tank slapper earlier on, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We'll go back and look at that replay. It was an oil spill, apparently, Frog was saying out there. So let's have a look.
Oh,
yeah, I want to see if I can actually get an old look at that one. So, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's put. Yeah, you can tell by the way he's just turning it to the right, because he's put the power down coming out of turn 7. The back end stepped out on him, and you can just see how very quick he was to react. And there's Iliana going through around the outside of turn number 8. So Iliana took full advantage of that, but now is 2 seconds behind Malaya, who's just got in and put in a 1:25.376. So I think Barbiero's got to really time it right on when he decides to pit. Now, the pace that I'm seeing at the moment, I would imagine that Malaya's probably got a slightly lower fuel level than Barbiero, so he's got a little bit more pace, and we've seen a bit like a pendulum, Dean, that it's been 0.3 one way and 0.3 another way, and that gap is slowly but surely coming down as we are past the halfway point in this second round of the iFormula Super Formula season.
And Iliano here has used up all of his push to pass. See, at the moment there's no light on top of the vehicle. It's empty. So whatever he has to do it just purely on track at the moment. He still has to make those pit stops. The top 6 still have to make their pit stops. And once again, we're just waiting on the Romanian. Down here, these drivers do have some push to pass available still, no doubt, saving it probably for the end showdown of the final 23 laps or so, as he will pass pit road and start another lap. So lap 24, 5 now. So they'll have plenty. You can see who's using it in the background there. That wasn't James actually. That's a back marker. I think it was Frank. Frank was deploying.
Frank Beazer, yeah.
Frank was deploying it here now.
Yeah, so he's currently for the...
Tyler's gone in.
Okay, so Tyler Gilbert ducks into pit lane from 4th position. So Kullerside will take 4th. Then Alexander Shanna currently will then inherit 6th position because he's just coming out of the final corner as we speak.
Spot your braking point. Get it right, my friend. There it is. Doesn't have to back up. Oh, he missed it. There it is. That's what I'm telling you about, that tiny little mistake. Now he's got a bit of space around him at the moment. Where's Hannes?
He's coming out of the final corner and he's deploying the push to pass because he knows that Gilbert has been in. So Schlegel is going to be down into turn 1 and
Gilbert's already passed through.
Yeah, I think the thing was, even with that slight faux pas where he had to light up the rear tyres to push himself slightly forward, Tyler Gilbert's still ahead of Hannes Schlegel. But I'm going to be really interested to see how the rest, the top half, the top 6 will decide on as Malaya now pits. So he's going to go for a possible undercut here.
He's got a spot it perfectly, gets a braking point down there, and then let's see if he gets this right on the money, because once again, it's fractions of seconds here. You don't want to be able to lose. Easier said than done. I don't drive these things,
No, Kullerside is also coming to the pit lane as well, so...
Oh, there's a lock-up and backed up. Yeah, he's missed it too. Another mistake in pit road here.
At least the pit stops are very, very quick indeed. Malaya was only up in the air for under 7.5 seconds. So Alexander Shanna now in the pit lane as well. So Kullerside hits the marks perfectly.
That one was good. Yep, right on the money. I'll take tyres too.
Yep. Scrumptious work there by the Scandinavian, I must say. Alexander Shanna from Lumos e-Motorsports. Nice that both James and Alex have different liveries, which we've got the 2 different sides of the coin for Lumos e-Motorsports, and that was a very, very good pit stop there for Alex. 7.1 seconds. Quickest pit stop out of anybody was Hannes Schlegel, 6.93 seconds. As Barbiero pits from the race lead. So this is probably... Okay, so Malaya is closing in on Jacob Beazer, so Beazer yet to pit. So Iliano's now pitting. Okay, so this is going to mean that James Malaya now will be very shortly, I think, taking the race lead.
Oh, he hits that perfect.
Yeah. So up in the air, 7.47 seconds. And Iliano, will the Italian hit his marks? Let's see.
Yep.
Spot on there. Rolled it neatly into position as Jacob Beazer now becomes the final driver out of the entire field of 11 drivers that are Still made it to this point. And Barbiero in first, Iliano second, James Miller in third. So Jacob Beezer in the number 93 comes down pit road, hits his marks, up in the air. Textbook from the American there. Lovely, lovely job.
The confusing thing, the confusing thing, of course, is that if they were taking pit stops at the same time together, that's when it becomes very difficult to see a lollipop person. We don't see them here as a spectator. For some reason, the spectator mode there of iRacing doesn't show you their pit crew. So the lollipop person, at least there, that's what you hit that marker. But if you have a whole bunch of cars that are right in front of you, that's when it becomes very, very difficult to try to see that lollipop person. I'm not going to say lollipop man or woman because it's a actual AI script. Still,
it's Barney's mates in the pit lane.
Mates, yeah, exactly. And it's so that's sometimes very confusing. None of these drivers had to really worry about that because they had clean pit road just to get it timed there perfectly. But you mentioned about that, isn't it? 7s and 7.47s, good pit stops there. 6s for Tyler, 6.9 there.
Gianluca Iliano 8.3 on his pit stops. Oh, yeah. James Miller is coming to the pit lane. Now, was that for a possible penalty? He's just... Oh, God, dearie me. It's not gone well for James. Put it on pole position, bogged down at the start. Has a big old tag slapper whilst battling for second position. And that's a drive-through penalty. Yep. That's a drive-through penalty. So system instigated via iRacing. I think he's hit the maximum amount of incident points for that one. And James Miller finds himself all the way down in 6th position. So what does that mean? We're going to find out very, very soon after this replay with Alexander Shanna in the number 45 coming out of the final corner. Oh, loses the back end! Oh, but narrowly escapes hitting the wall on the right-hand side and lights up the rear tyres.
But James has made a mistake here. This may have been the reason why he's got a drive-through.
Okay, so that's through turn. Oh!
And still keeps it out of the fence. Just... Looks like Jacobs had a little mistake. So just on this last couple of laps there, we're seeing, I think Jacobs lost this one too, coming out of the final corner. Again, right? Yep, there it is. Ooh.
Oh, he's done a reverse of Alex Shanna on that one. Oh, dearie, dearie me.
So that's catching them off, isn't it, with those cold tyres after coming out of pit road?
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, if I think what it means with James Miller is that he's exceeded the point limit for iRacing incident points is set to 16x. So that would probably mean that that's why James's big off then meant that he went over the 16x incident point limit and then prompted the drive-through. So,
yeah, it is unfortunate, isn't it? And iRacing will actually count that mistake that you made there as an incident point, but you can't do too much about it, can it? Because, I mean, how's he going to know? I mean, the driver's already penalised, isn't it, by making a spin and then you haven't go around, so it's not like he didn't get penalised. It's not like you're gaining an advantage at all. It's just unfortunately the way the system works, and it's even for everybody, so...
Yeah, very true. But what this does mean, folks, is we have a nice little development for third place. Adrian Kulasai, Tyler Gilbert and Hannes Schlegel now battling over the final step of the rostrum here at the Hungarian on lap 28. Out of 46, Marian Barbiero from Romania in the number 23 has done the near perfect race so far. But James Miller still holds on to the fastest lap of the race. And he is about 5 seconds off of the back of Schlegel in this battle. So, yeah, this is going to be quite interesting. Who's got the most push to pass available and when are they going to deploy it? Because my instinctive reaction here, Dean, would be coming out of turn 14, maybe you could use the opportunity coming out of turn 3, which is the slight right-hand kink out of 2, and down that back straight away, and then through turns 11, from turn 11 through to turn 12. Those are the 3 real points that you can activate the push to pass here at the Hungarian.
You just saw Schlegel deploy a little bit of it then. So we'll see if he continues to do it exactly as you mentioned there, Alex. That's the battle, and they're just hovering inside there. Tyler, of course, is just inside that 1 second gap.
Yeah.
The battle for P3, as you said.
Yeah, I think Schlegel is a little bit quicker at the moment than Gilbert, but actually Kullerside was the fastest out of the trio. Last lap was a 1:26.605, Gilbert 26.689, Schlegel 26.760, but the Austrian is now getting that gap down. So through the second sector, Schlegel is getting quicker and quicker. He was half a second quicker than Gilbert on that second sector. He just put in a 32.8. Gilbert 33.3. So Gilbert has got to watch himself, and will that give Schlegel the opportunity not only to just get past, but also try to go after Kullerside for that third place?
I'm sure that's what he's thinking of right now. He was thinking of a third. He's not thinking of a potential fourth here. See if he uses a little bit of the push to pass deployment. Not this time around. He's going to send the dummy just to throw in Tyler's in your mirrors there for your psychological games that you play against the drivers there. Just to think about it, you're going to send one up on the inside there, so you make the driver up the road mirror drive, and you don't. I mean, that's a good thing to do, of course. I always say to any drivers that I've engineered, you can see you deploying actually a bit of the push to pass up there from Tyler. But I always say just tear those mirrors off. Don't even think about driving back, looking behind. Just completely focus forward on your own race, and if they have to get around you, make them get around you the hard way.
Yeah, but all I'm going to say is James Miller is absolutely flying at the moment. He's just under 25.440, and that gap has been nearly halved in the last couple of laps. So Miller was 5 seconds behind Hannes Schlegel. He is now 2.7 seconds. There he is in the background as Schlegel closing in on Gilbert for that fourth place. So it's very much game on in the battle for the final step of the rostrum. It's not going to be a 3-horse race. James, let's make sure that's a 4-horse race very, very shortly.
And this is why Schlegel has to be thinking about that himself, actually, if he does have his spotter or engineer or anything like that, to let him know, you've got to get past, you've got to clear Tyler soon, because, yeah, once again, James is coming thick and fast. And with 15 laps to go, James will have time to catch him, and will have time even to overtake. Well, one thing to catch, another thing to overtake, but that's something that's going to be going through the Austrian's mind right now.
James Miller's just taken 1.6 seconds out of Hannes Schlegel on that last lap alone. Gap's now down to 1.8. Schlegel is really now having to think, right, because he'll know through the lap time deltas that he'll see on his heads-up display on his screen, as if to tell him, yeah, Schlegel, Hannes, James is closing, and he's closing rapidly.
James is faster than you.
Yeah, it's sort of like the old Fernando and Felipe.
Exactly.
Yeah, Felipe Fernando is faster than you, in the words of the icon Rob Smedley. But yeah, I mean, but still, Schlegel's not hanging about himself either. He's still trying to put Gilbert under a lot of pressure, despite having been about 1.5 tenths slower on the previous tour in comparison with the 00 from the US. So again, we're coming down to the last few, the last 13 laps of this race, and Barbiero is awaiting clear. 15.1 seconds up the road from Gianluca Iliano in the number 11. But this battle here is really going to start waging on. So, folks, when you consider it, these 4 cars, as Miller puts another fastest lap of the race in, 25.313 from the number 9 from Lumos E Motorsports is on an absolute charge, and there was a mistake there from Kullerside. Coming through turn 1, so might have just locked up the brakes, might have just got a bit too hot in the outskirts of the corner and had to correct himself rather quickly. So yeah, that's less than 3 seconds covering these 4 drivers, and I think the biggest danger of all of them is the one at the tail end of it.
Tyler using his deploying, as you can see there for a second, what was flashing on the top. Oh, that's a chicane of death. I used to, in the Formula 1 game, you used to hit that thing, it raises your car off there, the whole rear end just slides out and you're into the fence. But there it is, he has to deploy a little bit here. He's had to go defensive, and why not? Because he's got 2 very, very fast gladiators approaching him tooth and nail, and he's always sort of trying to keep in with Colasil, as you mentioned as well too, because only 1.2 seconds down the road there from him. Still, he's got to think about a P3 position. And at the moment, this is that 4-horse battle.
Yeah, this is where James Miller really needs to just get on with the business at hand, and he knows exactly what he's got to do. Out of turn number 14 comes the number 9 from Lumos Motorsports. Out of the final corner, will go up the gears to 5th to 6th gear, and then will, I'm sure, deploy that push to pass. And that gap now is 3.5 tenths of a second. Very late on the brakes. Oh, lock up there, as that was Schlegel, I believe, locking up with the right front through into turn 1. And now Miller is going to get the run coming out of turn 2, is he? Let's see how he approaches that. Through into the right-hander here at 3. Schlegel going a little bit more wayward in terms of apex entry and exit. Now Miller is getting very, very closer into 4, bumping over the curbs on the left-hand side. Through into 5. I think it could be that turns 11 and 12 is where Miller is going to be right with Schlegel and Gilbert. But the big question is, will he get two for the price of 1? I don't think he will, but he's lining them both up, so we could see something very, very special from James Miller very, very shortly. They're now going to make their way through turn 10. Now into the right-hander at 11. Here comes Miller. Charge of the cavalry in full effect. Oh, we've had a car off. Kullerside has lost it. Kullerside has absolutely smashed the car to oblivion, and the Norwegian is out of the race. Big, big moment. He came out of turn number 11, and he's just lost it under power.
Yep.
It's the veered right, and that has promoted Gilbert, Schlegel, and Miller to 3rd, 4th, and 5th, respectively. What a disaster for the Norwegian, with just around about 12 laps to go.
An easy overtake right now, set up the inside! That could be job done. That is job done. Brilliant work.
Yeah, Miller just picking his spots. Really picking his spots, but by being not, I wouldn't say the word impeded, but I think held back a little bit behind Hannes Schlegel, who was trying to close in on Tyler Gilbert. And now we're going to see James Miller really start to put the pressure on the 00 from Apollo Motorsports. And this is not only an opportunity for an AM driver to be in the top 3, as we're now going to see the move here. Up the inside, using the push to pass. Neatly does it by James Miller, right on the apex. Neatly through, out of the corner, lets it drift a little bit wide, applies the power, and Schlegel is powerless to defend it, as he went a little bit wider into that turn 1 apex braking zone. Miller was there, ready to pounce, as now we get this wonderful onboard shot from the left-hand side of Tyler Gilbert from Apollo Motorsport, and there is James Miller. But you know what, Hannes Schlegel isn't that far adrift. But once Miller gets past Gilbert, he's going to try and do all he can to close in on Italy's Gianluca Iliano in the 11. But that is about 14.5 seconds up the road to negotiate, because we've got 11 to go as we're on to lap 36. This has been an absolutely brilliant battle, but a real shame for Adrian Kullerside and Doodly Doodler going, come on, Marian Barbiero in the number 23's 15 seconds up the road from Gianluca Iliano. Gilbert in 3rd, Miller, Schlegel, Magnussen, Jacob Biza, Alex Shana, Frank Biza, and Arturo Marioga. The 10 drivers still running in this second round of the iFormula Super Formula season, season 7. So we're going to get an onboard from Adrian Kullerside out of turn number 11. And, oh yeah, just loses it, loses the back end. And steps out on him. Norwegian hard in the barriers.
Yeah, just like that, after doing a solid job, they can make that little mistake. That's going to be the driver's worst enemies at the moment. I don't think even the drivers are not even coming together. We haven't had any real contact. It's just they've been their own worst enemy at this point. And James is definitely thinking about a P3 on a recovery drive at the moment. And there it is, up on the inside. It didn't even look like it was fought, actually, by Tyler.
No, I think Tyler Gilbert decided to let James Miller go and went, you know what, I'm not on the same pace as him. I'm battling for an AM class victory. And that is very, very crucial, because Tyler Gilbert is leading the way in AMs. And then also the fact that, oh, lock up there from Miller. That nearly opened the door for Gilbert to get back into P3 overall. But you look at it from this perspective, in the AM side of things, Gilbert is leading the way. Second is Eric Magnusson in the Lumos eMotorsports number 15 in 6th place overall. So Jacob Beezer rounding out the top 3. Alexander Shanna rounding out 4th, and then Frank Beezer completing the top 5. Frank Beezer being the highest placed AM driver in this championship after the opening round at Silverstone just 1 week ago. As we have just coming up to 10 laps remaining as Gianluca Iliano is closing in. He's got that gap down to about 14 seconds. If he had maybe another 5 laps and a bit more pace under him, I think the Italian could challenge Barbiero, but it's the what could have been for James Miller here today.
We have a few drivers out there in chat. Actually, sorry, spectators out there in chat at the moment.
Yeah, we've got Crazy Tot saying, let's go, James. What a move. Dooley going, damn, James. And Frogwatts racers saying about Adrian Kullerside had absolutely no time to react. Once the car snaps like that, it's game over. And James Miller has dipped under 1 minute 25. A 1:24.948 after completing 37 laps of this near 4.4 kilometre circuit here at the Hungaroring. What an interesting race it's been. You know, like we were saying, yeah, it's going to get a little bit not stale. I think the word stagnant probably would be a better derivative there, Dean. But then it all started coming alive when we saw the pit stops. We saw multiple small errors. As here comes Arturo Mayorga looking up the inside of Frank Beezer. This is for 9th place. And Frank Beezer keeps the position for the moment, goes defensive. So a nice little exchange, but Frank runs wide. Arturo gets through. That's 9th for the number 2 car.
And here's this other battle still brewing at the moment here with the Austrian driver starting to get a little bit more pace there on Taylor. You see a couple of mistakes have been made for these drivers at the moment. Little lockups here, there, and everywhere. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for them, actually, iRacing doesn't have flat spots in the tyres. Hopefully, that's at some point in the future. It'd be interesting. But we want rain first. Let's work on that, iRacing.
Yeah. I completely agree. But now we go back to the battle for P4. James Millett.
Actually, I was about to tell you at the moment, if James Millett, we got 8 laps to go, he shave a lap. Well, a second a lap out, I don't think it'll be enough time, would it, to catch Iliano? Remember, Iliano has no boost left, whereas James does, so could deploy that. But
and he's just gone and done a 1:24.685. So James Miller, again, looking for an opportunity to. Well, I mean, the thing is that Mackenzie Roon took the fastest lap in the previous race. James Miller won't take the win. That'll be 28 points. That'll make it 29 with the fastest lap of the race. So incredible work by James Miller. Just as I said, it's the woulda, coulda, shoulda situation. Had he not had that moment when he was a country mile ahead of James Miller, of Gianluca Iliano, he could have been in second and possibly be chasing down Barbiero had he not had that Code Brown moment coming out of turn 7.
Yeah, I think it would have been definitely. There would have been a nice little 1-2 race, because the other drivers, remember, are constantly in the 125s. There's a lockup as well. Yeah, they're the 2 drivers and constantly in the 125, so they're in a race of their own. Of course, now Barbiero doesn't have to worry about anything. He's just got to keep it cool. He's probably playing it safe. I've seen this before, and I don't want to see it like drivers that, I think James sets the 124s again. But
oh my goodness, man.
No, you don't want to bin it at this point right now. So I think at the moment the Romanian's just going to take it easy. Iliano doesn't have to push like mad because there shouldn't be enough time. There shouldn't be enough time, say, there for James Millett to catch him.
Gilbert's coming under increased pressure again from Hannes Schlegel. So the Austrian was swarming all over the the rear diffuser of Tyler Gilbert going through into turn 1. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Austrian deals, as he's just done a slight deployment on his push to pass down into turn 4, then into the. This is one of the things I like about the Hungarian. You get these lovely sweeping corners where you really can use the aero to good effect. As Alexander Shanna, I think, might have just hit the 16x incident point limit and has just gone through pit lane.
It's crashed.
Oh, he's crashed, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, dearie me. Okay. Where is this?
Let's get out to the marbles. Shouldn't be here. Oh, that's an entrance. Snap
It's turn three. Turn 3. That's where earlier on we saw James Miller lose the back end, then got him a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, that'll be there.
So
too. That'll be a drive-through penalty because of that, because obviously there's no damage to the car.
Yeah, so 2 drive-through penalties served, one by each. Where are
It's going to be in the 23 soon at the moment. James keeps this up.
He is absolutely flying, is James Miller. But we are coming down to 6. We're on lap 40 out of 41 out of 46. So 6 to go, including this one. And Barbiero is being closed in on a little bit. He's being very, very comfortable at the minute. Just at a 26.0. Gianluca Iliano 25.3, and then James Miller took a whopping 1.2 seconds out of him on lap 40. So Miller's trying to do as much as he can, and he's hoping that if he keeps this pace up, I'll be completely honest here, Dave, even with 5 laps to go, there is every possibility that Gianluca Iliano could make an unforced error.
Yes, exactly.
What
That's
happened
what
with
he
James
is.
Miller earlier on.
Just force it. You want to just psychological games again. Just get in your head, get into to his spotter, Iliano. That's to say, he's getting faster and faster and faster per lap. He's down to 9.6, and that's just like, if Iliano should be like, just completely take that out of your head there. Don't even think about that, because it will slowly creep into you, and you could, while you're driving this machine, it's absolutely flat out, and they are driving absolutely flat out because they're setting some pretty damn quick times, as you can imagine. But, however, too, to let you know that James is out of his deployment, he's pushed to pass, so he's got nothing left at all. So whatever he's used now.
Well, he's just
time anyway.
Yeah, he's just done a 124.3, but he took a second out of Iliano in the second sector. So that's where Miller really has that car very, very well hooked up. We're on to lap 42 out of 46. And Schlegel and Gilbert still very, very much together, as Schlegel now senses a little bit of blood in the water and is 0.2 of a second behind Gilbert as they make their way into turn 4, now into 5. So, yeah, it's going to be quite interesting how the battle ends up permeating between these two into the latter stages as they go through turns 6 and 7 at the chicane on lap 42 out of 46. That gap still sort of, again, is like a pendulum swing. So they're coming through, and there you see them out through turn 11. And down over the elevation change they go. It's going to be quite crucial how Hannes Schlegel decides to go for the move on Tyler Gilbert. Looked for a move possibly into turn 12. Sweeps to the outside to get the undercut through turn number 13. But the American in the 00 still able to keep the Austrian at bay. So, including this lap, we've got 4 to go until the checkered, and Schlegel's still got some push to pass to use at the minute, and he's trying to close that gap. It's 3.5 of a second heading into turn 1, and Schlegel again unable to try and get past Gilbert for that 4th position. Nevertheless, it still has been a fantastic battle, no matter what you say, but it looks like Marian Barbiero at this rate will become the new championship leader in the pro class. There he is, Romanian from Inten Get Good Racing in the 23, running the Gulf style livery colours there, the famed light blue and orange, and he's 13.7 seconds up the road. But look at James Miller.
Yeah.
Miller is 2 seconds quicker a lap than Iliano. Iliano must be thinking, please don't have kittens right now, Carl. Please don't have kittens. I don't want any dramas. And all he's got to do is keep it on the black stuff for the next couple of laps, and he's golden.
They got traffic to come through, but they do have traffic.
Oh dear. Now this could really help James Miller, but that gap has slightly expanded. So Iliano 126.711. What's the lap time from James Miller? 124.6. That's 2.1 seconds.
Down to 4 seconds, 4.8, 3 laps to go. That is, you've got to give everything you possibly can. You never know.
And this will give him points on the board as well. We didn't have James with us for the opening round at Silverstone, as Schlegel still trying to put the frighteners on, and he locks up on the right front big time. coming all the way through from the braking zone to the exit point of turn 1. Hannes Schlegel is still trying to do all that he can, and the gap now down between Iliano and Miller is now 3.5 seconds.
Got to clear this back marker, but as quickly as possible. There's Beezer. He's got to get past him. He's not going to make it absolutely easy, actually. He's going to catch him in the corners. That's going to be a little bit frustrating for James, who wants to put the absolute power down. Now he should be able to someone up the inside. There he is. Oh, almost took each other out there. So that's compromised him at least about half a second just in those corners trying to catch Iliano.
But look at the pace, look at the comfort that he had with the car going through turn 10. Just literally parked it around the outside on the approach into turn 11. And that was all she wrote. So James Miller saying, thank you very much. That'll do nicely out of the final corner. We got 2 laps to go. And James Miller is now on the hunt. And there is Gianluca Iliano in his crosshairs. The Italian has got to be scared right now because there's just under 8.8 kilometers of this race here to go for round 2 of the iFormula Super Formula Series, live from the virtual recreation of the Hungarian. And James Miller is 2 seconds away, whereas Hannes Schlegel is looking to the outside of Tyler Gilbert. Locks up again, and that's coming through out of turn 1. They're going to be wheel to wheel through into turn 2. I think Schlegel's going to have the inside line, and he's got it. The Austrian finally makes the pass for 4th position. Great job there by the number 90 of Hannes Schlegel, and now powers away from Tyler Gilbert in the process.
Yeah, Tyler Gilbert, as you said, to be happy. He's happy to be racing like that, and he's going to still win the AM class. So to him, it's still a win, one way along the line there. But now, is there enough time for James Miller to do anything? He's half a second here. 2 laps to go. It is possible. This is why you never, ever, ever give up on a race until you see Barney in the final stage.
And James Miller, despite having no push to passes, Marian Barbieri goes on to the final lap. Lap 46 out of 46 underway, which means these two will be battling over the next 4.4 kilometres here at the Hungarian. It's Miller in 3rd, closing in on Iliano. The gap now less than 4.5 tenths of a second. No push to pass available. And look at the lap time, 1:24.781 from Miller, a 27.3 from Iliano, who knows second is very much going to be for the taking if he can keep it on the straight and narrow. And Miller has a moment going through into turn 1.
And traffic
back
too.
end started. Again, this will be probably one of the Beezer Motorsport cars, either Jacob or Frank. But this is where it could play into the hands of James Miller into turn 4 for the final time as our leader is making his way through into turn 9. Iliano hugs the apex through turn 5. And there is Miller. He's going to get through as well, through into turn 6 and 7 at the chicane. Miller is a 10.5 behind through into turn 8. Now down into turn 9. I think this could be the opportunity that James Miller has been waiting for, but it could be a drag race to the finish. However, what we need to do is concentrate on our race leader as Marian Barbieri from Get Good Racing of the 23 comes out of turn 14. It's from lights out to checkered flag. The Romanian picks up the win here at the Hungarian. And it's still
Iliano's
round on the final lap with 2 corners to go, I think. Iliano's lost it. He's lost second. Oh my goodness me. What on earth? James Miller from pole position right down to the end. And Alex Shanna gets across the line after hitting the barriers. But you know what, James Miller, what a comeback from him. But I really would like to see, I think we'd both be quite interested on the replay of what happened to Gianluca Iliano, because we only saw it from the onboard. So this is now coming into what I think is the tail end of the circuit. And James Miller towards the outside. Now, Iliano looked on his own. He lost it on his own on the penultimate corner of the race at turn 13. But still, he takes 3rd at the flag.
Wow.
Drama, folks. How about that? But Marian Barbieri from Intend Get Good Racing, and Frog Watts Racer says you have a room of half-drunk people shouting at the stream right now. You know what? That just makes it all the more enticing. But let's have a look at the results from round 2 of the Hungarian Grand Prix of this season. The iFormula Super Formula Series. Marian Barbieri from Get Good Racing winning after 46 laps here at the Hungaroring by 14.7 seconds with one of the best drives I've seen in a very, very long time. Great recovery to finish second. James Miller from Lumos E Motorsports. Gianluca Iliano rounds out the top 3 despite dropping the back end of the car around 180 degrees the wrong way to finish third. Hannes Schlegel. Tyler Gilbert picks up the win in the AM class, finishing 5th ahead of Eric Nixon, and Jacob Biza rounds out the top 7, thereby completing the top 3 in the AM class. Arturo Marioga, Frank Biza, Alexander Shanna all round out the top 10. Unfortunately, Adrian Kulasai battling for 3rd position with 13 laps to go on lap 33. Lost it coming out of turn 11, and that was all she wrote. And Derek Miller, with 3 laps completed, would retire from the race. So I think what we need to do now is join our good friends over in the Discord server and have a chat with a few people, which is what I'm going to do now.
So we'll just unmute there.
So here we are in the server, and you know what? We've got one driver waiting to have a chat with us. Let's have a chat with Lumos E Motorsports number 9, who put it on pole position for the race. Came back fighting despite a couple of big moments and also having to suffer a drive-through penalty. See if we can bring in James Miller. James, firstly, I have to say, what a topsy-turvy race for you today. Pole position, bogged down at the start. You have a massive moment coming out of turn 7, which meant you nearly hit the barrier, not just once, but then turn 3. Drive-through penalty after hitting the incident point limit. And then you were on an absolute tear. And it came down to 2 corners to go, and Gianluca spun it on his own through turn 13. And you pick up P2. How are you feeling?
I'm winded. I'm absolutely exhausted. Still shaking a little bit. You know, this is my 2nd time ever racing the car, and it's a handful. I don't know if we got the tires in the right window or the right mix of fuel that made it something I could control. But man, we started just racking up personal bests there at the end, and it was an absolute blast. Just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So, you know, so much fun. Couldn't be happier to finish, much less finish on the podium. So, you know, we had a great time.
That's I mean, myself and Dean were we were looking at the lap times, and you were taking absolute chunks out of Gianluca, who, you know, I have to say, did a fantastic job in his own right. You know, didn't have a good run at round 1. Of course, this is your first appearance for season 7 in the Super Formula Series here on iFormula, but. You know, we've got some great tracks coming up, haven't we? You know, how's the... are we going to see you for the remainder of the season? Because obviously some drivers like yourself weren't able to make it for round 1 at Silverstone last week.
Correct, yeah. So, you know, Saturdays are normally kind of a schedule conflict. And as you know, I'm in the F3 series and have been for the last 6 seasons of iFL. So, you know, I don't know if I can fully commit to racing 2 series, but I'm going to do my best to contribute and jump in and give us some exciting moments, like I'm sure we had plenty today, all throughout the field. And, you know, shout out to Iliano. I assumed he was probably fuel saving there at the end, maybe a little bit, or nursing an incident point limit thing, but just gutted for him that it had to end with him spinning. You know, I know he was taking a defensive line, and I decided to swing it wide. I think we would have had a really, really close finish had he held it all together. So good job to him. I'm glad, you know, we got to battle. That was great.
Yeah, I think you definitely. We had a couple of people. I think Frog Watts Race is saying you got a room of half drunken people shouting at the stream right now, like everything. You know, like the start was. You know, let's have a look at, you know, with regards to Marion, because he got the whole shot.
Yep.
Was it because you picked up a lot of wheel spin on the start phase as well, didn't you? Before the car really started to engage as you shifted up the gears going into turn 1 on the opening lap.
Yeah, a whole bunch. You know, I was 99% confident that I launched it the way I did all my practice attempts, but that 1% got me, I guess. Did something wrong, but yeah, hats off to Marion, drove great, and you know, I was kind of waiting in the background. I saw a lot of off tracks early, or what I thought. You know, you're never really sure what you see and what is actually real. But so I thought maybe if we hung around, maybe did an undercut. But you know, I went ahead and threw strats A, B, C, D, and E out the window, and
Yep.
made the 15-second charge back at the end for strat F. You know.
But it wasn't plan A, it was definitely plan F. FB
Yeah.
for fast on that one. But James, well done today. Congrats. And good luck tomorrow for the iFormula Formula 3 season as well.
We appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for doing this, and we love you around here, and we look forward to many more years with you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much there to James Mlair finishing in second place. We're now going to bring in someone who I think we need to have a nice little chat with. Let's bring in Eric Magnusson. Eric, well, a P6 after a very, very entertaining race from what myself and Dean were saying all the way through, but a good result for you today as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good result. I had a contact with a car that spun on lap 1, so I had to pit for a new front end, and I had to make those tires last. I had to pit on Silverstone last weekend as well for damage. So this weekend it worked out, and I got the P2 in the amateur class.
Yeah, it's sort of been quite interesting because coming into this round, obviously Daniel won the opening round at Silverstone for Apollo Motorsports, and then you were sandwiched in between Frank Beezer and Tyler in third place in the standings. But now it's another good amount of consistency, and to have two solid results, a P3 and a P2 in both respective races, that gives you a bit more confidence before we have a week's break here on the Super Formula Season 7, and then we go to Barcelona in a couple of weeks' time. It's a good way to have a couple of good, solid results, despite, as you said, having that drama with contact with another vehicle and having to pit early.
Yeah, it's good confidence for me because I've only been driving the SF23 car for maybe like a month or so I'm still getting used to it. But I really felt today that it worked out, and the setup was so good. I don't know really how I could manage those tires so good until the end, but it was really starting to slip in the end.
Brilliant. Eric, anyone you'd like to give a shout out before we let you go today?
Yeah, James Moller, he's an interesting guy. Like I love his setups. I love speaking to him. We're both Lumos guys, so yeah, shout out to James, who made a really good race today.
Brilliant. Eric, well done on the P2 today here at the Hungarian, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time at Barcelona for round 3.
Yeah, see you guys.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more interview. Let's bring in our round 2 overall winner. Let's bring in Marian Barbiero. Marian, well done. Fantastic start, leading every single lap of the 46 here at the Hungarian. And that really puts you, I think, by my provisional calculations, as the new leader in the points in the Pro class. How are you feeling?
Thank you, Alex. Was an exhausting race, not gonna lie. Very, very difficult to keep the car on track. So I was happy to just finish. But obviously, when James was behind, it was so intense. I loved it. Last race, it was with Mackenzie, now with James. So this car is mega, mega nice to drive, especially when you're getting pushed from behind. But also you have some advantage without having the dirty air, you know? Because I could see James struggling with the dirty air. And I didn't use the push to pass button, never once in the race, because I was a bit afraid of the wheel spin. So obviously with this mechanic, you don't know when the other driver is pushing it. So I was just taking my chances that if he's gonna pass me, then I will undercut him and then use all my battery and then get the position back. But unfortunately, he had a moment there. I think James had a bit of better pace today, but it's hard to say since after he did a mistake, I just drove very, very safely. I didn't push at all. So hopefully we'll have more races like this. The race is kind of long, but it's also very, very exhaustive in the terms that you have to look at it almost like an endurance racing, so to speak. Especially that if you're just a few percentage more on throttle, you bend the car in the wall, and that's it.
First of all, Buonasera, right? I lived in Bucharest actually, so hopefully my Romanian is still not too bad.
Oh.
Second of all, you were we noticed that you did a practice start during that warm up session.
Yeah, I always do that before the race.
That seemed to make a huge difference, obviously, because that launch that you got straight to get yourself into P1 made all that difference. Somebody else pointed it out. I think Frog pointed it out there in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit lucky, not gonna lie, because I was at the verge of wheel spin. I think I had a great launch this time, but always you have to risk it if you want it. So I could have very well just spent there, but I was in a way a bit lucky, but also did some practice before starting the race. So yes, felt quite good.
Brilliant. Marion, how are you feeling now that we've got a couple of weeks break? We know that you sim racing drivers are racing in other championships and all that kind of stuff. Of course, now the target's going to be on your back a little bit going into Barcelona in a couple of weeks' time. But how are you feeling now that you've got a second place last time out at Silverstone? You got a win here at the Hungarian, and then it's an opportunity to, it's going to be the first of 3 back-to-back races. So Barcelona, Kota, and then Interlagos. What are you expecting? Because, I mean, if we see James Malera a bit more into this, and then obviously then we see Mackenzie coming back, we could have a really good, interesting fight at the front of the field, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. I plan just to have fun here. So no matter what the outcome will be, I am still enjoying it because it's the car is super fun to drive. Also with my teammates, shout out to Gianluca, shout out to Hans, to Adrian, who just jumped into the SF car for the first time. So just doing laps with them and talking with them, and then being in the race, and then fighting with James, fighting with Mackenzie and whoever's around, that's a lot of fun, and I'm just trying to enjoy myself. I'm not thinking about too much about the point system or something like that. If it's gonna happen that I will end up with more points than others, then I will take it, but if not, I'm still happy. So really just enjoying the moment.
Brilliant. Marion, well done. Congratulations on the win, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya for round 3.
See you. Thank you for doing this broadcast. This is great.
Yeah, no worries. And have you got any people you want to shout out to before we let you go as well? I've got to remember to do that. That's one thing I keep on forgetting to do, and Mr. Parfitt will tell me off for that. So anyone you want to shout out in particular?
Yeah, for sure. The Intent Flatout team, Hans, Gianluca, Adrian, and all the guys from the team, and also all the spectators that we got today to see the race. Happy that hopefully we did some racing here and there.
Brilliant. Marion, congratulations. See you in a couple of weeks for round 3.
Thank you.
So
Dean.
There we have it, my friend. What a race.
I know. They say that some, you know what, there's one word that you know, that I love, unpredictability. And we did have a bit of that in this race. And we got I think probably a lot of pendulum swings, like say James Miller lighting up the timesheets, taking lumps like nearly 2.5 seconds at points out of Gianluca Iliano. Who was so close and just missed out on that penultimate step on the rostrum, but still got the final step in P3. But Barbieri was on absolute fire today, and he just kept his head cool, whilst everyone else, I think, had a little bit of trials and tribulations. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it was also interesting that he mentioned in the interview about how he was very, very cautious not to want to use that push to pass as well. He didn't use any of it up during the race, that he said, but I was very, very cautious about the wheel spin with it, which is quite interesting. And we would have liked to see, obviously, himself and James go at it tooth and nail like they were at the start of the race, but of course, unfortunate circumstances. So you said the pendulum had swung, and then it was just he had a lonely race, really, didn't it? It seemed like he said he wasn't pushing it too much, just wanted to bring it home there, having some fun. practically just all by yourself at that point of the race. But yeah, Ileana, of course, will be a little bit, not happy with himself making that little spin on the penultimate corner. But still, consolation prize is still a podium, and a podium's always a good thing.
Yeah, and it puts points on the boards for the Italian as well. Well, that really wraps out live coverage here on JP Broadcasting for the second round of iFormula Super Formula Series Season 7 from here at the Hungarian. Don't forget, tomorrow night at 5:15 GMT, you'll be able to keep an eye on all the action live here on the JP Broadcasting Network for iFormula Formula 3 season again from the Hungarian. Right now, as we say, the Virtual World Sports Car Championship 2024 is underway with the 2.4 hours of Daytona. And tomorrow night here on JP Broadcasting, you'll also be able to catch from 9:20 UK time, Formula 3 Season 1 2023-2024, Round 4 of the IGP Fun Formula 3 from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. He's been Dean Biggles. And as I always like to say, if in doubt, go flat out. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Good night.